David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another fountain pen review. One thing I enjoy about the fountain pen hobby is the large number of smaller, independent pen manufacturers who create new and unique products. The pen I have for you today is from one of those smaller companies by the name of Pennsler, and the name of the pen is the Mystic. What I'm going to do is go over the parts and features of the Pennsler Mystic, talk about what I care for, what I don't care for. I'll show some measurements, size comparisons, and provide a writing sample. Thanks go out to Pennsler for providing this pen for review. The gentleman behind Pennsler is Andreas Arias. He is based in Michigan. He began making pens basically just because he loves fountain pens. He had always thought he should give pen making a try, so he learned what he needed to buy in regard to equipment and trained himself how to use a lathe, and he began making some interesting pens. There's no particular meaning behind the name Pennsler. It was just something that Andreas's girlfriend came up with, and it just stuck. Sometimes no reason is a good enough reason. So let's take a look at a pen. This is the Pennsler Mystic. In this particular version, for reasons that will become obvious, is called the Kraken. Andreas has a wide variety of acrylics he works with. When we started discussions in regard to what material I'd like for this pen, I saw another pen on his site with this pearlescent white and thought it looked interesting. I really didn't have any quality white pens in my collection, so I thought it would be a little bit different. And it looked great in the pictures. And once I received the pen, the material really exceeded my expectations. It's a pretty cool material. It has a bunch of chatoyance, and then it even has a bit of wavy banding. And it just has some interesting coloration in it as well. Let's start by taking a look at the cap. The end of the cap is pointed. It is sharp, very sharp. I have a tactile pen where the ends aren't as sharp as this one. The cap does angle up, and then we have the distinguishing feature of this pen, which are the tentacles. This is actually a stainless steel ring. I feel the silver color really stands out nicely against the pearlescent white cap. You can utilize a number of things as roll stops on a cap. I had a friend order a pen from a custom maker which incorporated a pair of earrings into the design. One was used on the cap as a roll stop, and the other was inlaid into a matching pen stand. That's the thing. When you work with a custom pen maker, typically the only limit to what you can receive is your imagination. They're usually up to try just about anything. There is a medium step down to the barrel, which is fairly straight, and then it tapers off to the aforementioned very sharp point. The cap twists off, and underneath we have a number 6 Jowo steel nib. This particular one is medium. Just like most other standard Jowo nibs, this one performs very well and is decently smooth. And here's a look at the plastic feed. The section is concave, with the deepest part of the curve roughly about 60% down the section. For me, I typically grip my pens close to the end of the section, and with a section of this shape, it forces my grip a bit further back. It's not uncomfortable, but for me it took a little bit of getting used to. With my grip sitting a little further back, it does rest right on the threads, which I don't find to be sharp or uncomfortable. The barrel is plenty long enough for me to use it unposted. The cap does post, and it does post securely. Overall, the pen is fairly light, and so I don't find posting the cap really backweights the pen or throws off the balance at all, especially with this ring up here. I typically use this pen posted. I kind of like seeing the tentacles up there. This is a cartridge converter pen. It does accept standard international cartridges, and a converter is included. There are no internal metal parts to this pen, so you could use it as an eyedropper if you wish. I would just make sure that you use an appropriate amount of silicone grease on the barrel threads. Now, the price for this model can vary depending on the material as well as any decorative elements. But I would look for it to be in the range of about $190 to $215, which I feel is a very reasonable price for what you receive with this pen. I think it's appropriate for a unique handcrafted pen. I've enjoyed using this pen, and I'm really glad that I now have a nice white pen to add to my collection. Thanks again go out to Andreas of Pennsler for providing this pen for review. I will put a link to his website in the notes below, and I would highly recommend taking a look at his work. I would recommend taking a look at the site as well as checking out the Pennsler Instagram feed. And then that way you could get a good idea of the breadth and style of work that Andreas provides, and it might give you some ideas for something custom that you'd like to have created. So now it is time for some measurements, size comparisons, and a writing sample. Here we go with some size comparisons for the Pennsler Mystic Kraken. Here it is with a Platinum 3776 Chartreuse Blue. Here it is with a pen that is somewhat of a similar shape, which is an Edison Herald. And then here it is with a Mont Blanc 146. And then in regard to a few other pens, here it is with a Lamy 2000 and a Lamy All-Star, and then also a TWSBI VAC 700. So here we go with the writing sample for the Pennsler Mystic Kraken. This is a medium steel nib, and the ink that I'm using today is Papier Plume. House of the Rising Sun. This has quickly turned into one of my favorite inks. This is what it looks like. It's a real nice orange red. Something a little bit darker than Noodler's Apache Sunset. And then in regard to just like a real bright orange, this is what it looks like in regard to the Ackerman Orange Bovin. But yeah, I really enjoy the House of the Rising Sun. This is what the ink bottles looks like. Similar to the ink bottles that I reviewed last week for the Chicago show. I like the Papier Plume bottles, especially the wax seal that's at the top. That's still kind of cool. So here we go with the rest of the writing sample. I find that this medium Jowo nib is fairly smooth. You're not going to get tons of line variation out of here, but I do find that the ink flow is decent in this pen. The ink is a little bit on the dry side, but I do find that the ink flow is decent. In regard to reverse writing, it's a little sharp. And in regard to some fast writing, the feed has no problem in keeping up whatsoever. So there we have the Pennsler Mystic Kraken, a unique pen from a custom pen maker that you should check out. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.